The Eagles are headed to the NFC Championship. Dallas Goedert kicked things off with a 16-yard touchdown. Next up, Devontae Smith, he finds the end zone. How about for the defense? James Bradberry says hello to his former team, picking off Daniel Jones. Back to the scoring, the giant killer himself. He got to get in on the fun, Boston Scott. And then Jalen Hurts took it in himself. Welcome to the Postgame Show, presented by Ricoh. I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy and Ike Reese. You really got to hold the ears for this one, Eagles fans. Ike!
Victory! Woo! Oh.
Are we good?
You stayed in the chair.
I managed to stay in the chair.
You surpassed expectations, because I thought you were going down on that one. It's been a while.
Do you need water? Do we need a cold towel? Are we good?
I'm ready.
This was a postseason game that felt like a preseason game. And Ike, you were talking beforehand. 5 years to the day to the NFC title game against Minnesota in 2017. Same exact score, 38-7. Eagles just handle a division rival. Doesn't get any better for a Saturday night there, Ella.
38-7. I mean, the first half is truthfully where the game was won in terms of putting up all the points and really asserting themselves. We talked in the kickoff show about it's going to be about getting off to a hot start. That's exactly what they did. They gave New York not a single chance to score. So let's start there. Let's start with the first half. Jalen Hurts really getting things going and setting the tone, Ike.
Yeah, really did. And, I know the Eagles, when they usually win the coin toss, they aren't going to take long. So before the game, I was hoping the Giants won the coin toss because I knew they would defer. I wanted the Eagles offense to be on the field first, just like they did the first time they played against the Giants. A nice, long, extended drive that ends in a touchdown pass to Dallas Goedert, I believe, on that first drive. Yep. They immediately put the Giants under the gun. And the Giants' game plan was to try to keep this game close into the fourth quarter. But once you get up on them, it forces them out of their comfort zone of being able to try to run the football and play ball control, keep away from the Eagles' offense. And once they couldn't do that after their first possession, the Eagles wind up going up 14-0, and it really was completely an uphill battle from the Giants from that point moving forward.
That was one thing I looked at back in the week of prep. Was just how this team tried to rebound, trying to battle from behind in the second half of games when they were losing. The Giants were worse than a lot of teams. You see a lot of teams that'll try and gain efficiency. They're trying to work their way back. They're trying to get back in the lead. The Giants just not able to do that.
The Eagles left no question marks on the football field. Of course, all week, even the past 2 weeks, without seeing them play, we're talking about Jalen Hurts' shoulder. We're talking about the health of Lane Johnson. We're talking about the secondary without Avonte Maddox if he weren't to go. We're talking about if this team is even legit, is some of the conversations, outside of this building. 14 wins wasn't enough. They wanted to see the number one seed in the NFC come out here and prove why they're the number one seed. I think it's safe to say they proved it here tonight.
No doubt about it. And you talked about some of the topics that have been surrounding this team over the last couple of weeks. But there's been no other topic that's been the forefront of everyone's mind as an Eagles fan, and that's Jalen Hurts and how he would look in this game. That final game against the Giants, you could tell they wanted to limit some of the contact that he was taking. They didn't expose him. That was certainly the right formula for success in that game. But you didn't know what Jalen Hurts you were going to get in this game. The Eagles tried to assure us, certainly Jalen Hurts did, that he was going to be okay and he was going to be able to play his game. And I think we all were able to take a sigh of relief once we saw Jalen run the football, once we saw him take a hit. Him throwing the ball was never a question. It was whether or not how tender that shoulder would be if he got any contact on it, and whether or not he would be able to play with the confidence that he normally plays with as opposed to trying to protect his shoulder. I didn't see any of that tonight. He didn't run out of bounds. When he needed to stay in bounds and get extra yards, he was able to do it, but he was also smart when he needed to be, got down and didn't take unnecessary hits. Jalen Hurts looks great, which bodes well for us moving forward. You didn't know if you were going to have a compromised quarterback that would limit some of the things you can do on offense. Seeing him out there today appearing as if he's as close to 100% as he's going to be this time of the year, I think you have to be encouraged by that if you're an Eagles fan.
We're going to take a break here at the NovaCare Complex. We're going to go across the street to Lincoln Financial Field, where your Eagles insider Dave Spadaro joins us live. Dave, we started talking about that first half. That is where the party got started. What are your your initial thoughts about that, the way that the Eagles are able to jump out in front really fast and overwhelm the New York Giants?
Yeah, Ella, it was literally a perfect first half for the Philadelphia Eagles, who scored, let's see, the 11th opening drive score of the season for them. 9 times they've scored touchdowns on their first offensive possession, 2 field goals. So that sets the tone. And then the defense comes out with back-to-back sacks to end a drive. Eagles go down the field. I mean, it literally was the perfect first half. And it was certainly Jalen Hurts, and it was a really balanced attack. And it was Dallas Goedert and the rest of this crew treating Adoree Jackson like he was just a stuffed animal out there. I mean, they were just pushing him around. The early stiff arm from Dallas Goedert really kind of got the crowd going and kind of told me, hey, the Eagles are here to be a physical team, a team that's just going to come in here and set the tone. And I thought that the Eagles did such a terrific job in every way. Lane Johnson gutting it out. And we all saw Lane kind of pull up and limp a little bit early in the game. He played through it. The blocking on the perimeter was outstanding. The run game asserting itself. The Eagles showed once again that they win in a variety of ways. They can throw the football on you and they can run the football on you. And the defense took away Daniel Jones. They took away Saquon Barkley. Just a perfect first half. And then it was just kind of coast time, kill the clock, and then, of course, a really big fourth quarter. So, I mean, as good as it gets in this playoff game, Eagles showed, look, all week, Ella, we were in the locker room, right? The Eagles players, I mean, you could just feel the pent-up energy. They were ready to come out here and explode, and that's exactly what they did.
There was certainly no rust, Dave, over the break. Sometimes there's questions surrounding if the buy is worth it. They came out sharper than ever here tonight, especially from the defensive side of the football. You mentioned how they were able to remove Daniel Jones from the equation. That's something the defense has been very good at throughout the season, eliminating high-powered running backs like Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. How do you see that boding well here down the stretch as they make this run?
Yeah, I mean, look, as long as the defensive line is as impactful as it has been all season, and we saw a reminder here tonight of just how good Josh Sweat is, and having him back on the field. We talked a lot about Lane Johnson getting back and Jalen Hurts becoming Jalen Hurts once again, but having Josh Sweat back on the field really adds off the edge. And so when you are looking at the Eagles, you have to account for Reddick and Sweat and BG and Reddick and Hargrave inside and Fletcher Cox, who had a sack tonight. And I thought that JG ordered up a blitz or two that was absolutely perfect. I mean, Kayvon Wallace had a really good blitz that forced an incompletion on third down in this game. So I think if you're San Francisco or Dallas, whoever wins that game tomorrow, and you're looking at the Eagles defense, you've got to contend with a pass rush that comes from a lot of different angles, that's relentless, and that tonight clearly overpowered the New York Giants, as we have seen all season. We saw it in Week 14, and I mean, that was really the telltale. The Eagles are a better football team by leaps and bounds over the Giants, and tonight they came out and they showed it from the very first minute of the game.
You mentioned Dallas or San Francisco. We don't know who the Eagles will be playing, but it will be one of the two, and they have to come to Philly. Can you tell me a little bit about the crowd tonight, how they played into tonight's result?
Ella, it was awesome here. Once again, Philadelphia Eagles fans around the world. For those of you who couldn't be here, I mean, you could kind of feel the energy. I know that wherever you are watching this game, you are just as amped up as everyone here at Lincoln Financial Field. It was an electric, incredible atmosphere here. We talked about it before the game, how early everybody arrived in South Philadelphia, taking over the parking lots. The tailgate scene was great. There were fireworks going off throughout the early evening here. I mean, it was just an awesome scene. And then the fans came in here and really gave the Eagles a jolt. And as ready as the players and the coaches were to play, these fans were ready for some playoff football, and they got it, and they delivered. And hey, next week we're going to need you again. Home field advantage here at Lincoln Financial Field will be oh so important in the NFC Championship game.
Awesome, Dave. Thank you so much. Back to work. Another game week is ahead of us. That was your Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro, live from Lincoln Financial Field. So we started talking about it, and then Dave touched on that hot start that the Eagles were able to really set the tone in the first half. How important is that going to be in next Sunday's game? Whether it's Dallas or San Francisco, that is going to be of utmost importance to be able to start the game the same way they were able to do tonight.
Yeah, it's big time. I mean, especially when you're playing at home. You want that momentum. You want that crowd's energy to be sustained. And for the opposing team, it becomes deafening out there, right? So if you get a chance to score early in the game next week and then you get your defense back out there on the field, that offense, whether it's Dallas or San Francisco, is going to have a hard time communicating with each other. And there becomes a sense of panic. So the Eagles, I'm not going to sit here and say if they don't get off to a hot start next week, they can't win a football game. I just think it makes it harder because as an opposing team, you want to try to come in and keep the crowd down and keep the energy down, and that way you can try to steal a game. So next week, the fans will be ready to go. And Dave's absolutely right. The fans were magnificent today. I was out there for the pregame show, and I do the show every home game. And to see the amount of fans that were there 2.5 hours, 3 hours before the game starts for our pregame show, that lets you know they were ready to go. They had left the parking lots of tailgating and they wanted to be inside the stadium.
It's a Philly thing.
Yes.
That's right.
I mean, when the national anthem was going, literally all the seats seemed to be filled to me.
Wow.
And sometimes you can get people dragging in a little late.
Sure.
No, they were in their seats early and ready to go.
Yeah, when you talk about those fast starts, obviously that's something that gets the crowd into the game really quickly. And look, to me, it all comes down to situational football. And you look at the Eagles here in the first half of this game, offensively, 4 for 4 in the red zone in the first half, 6 of 7 on third down in the first half. On defense, the Giants were 1 of 4 on third down in the first half. That first half, 3 and outs to end it. You had the James Bradberry possession that was a 2-play drive with an interception. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that in terms of fast starts. And if you're able to win on those high leverage snaps, those third down and red zone snaps, you capitalize on those, it's going to go a long way towards a win.
It's so interesting you mentioned situational football. I actually wrote about this in my column this week because Nick Sirianni was asked about how freeing it's been since he has turned his play calling over to Shane Steichen, and he said, look, it actually gives me more time with the defense. We dug a little bit deeper into that and talked to Jason Kelsey afterwards, and he said he allocates so much time to situational football since he's given up the play calling duties. And he went on to say that we're one of the best teams in the NFL at handling situations that are handed to us throughout a game because of the time Sirianni spends educating the players and the staff on situations that may arise throughout a football game. And it's actually true, like, because you see how that unfolds throughout a football game. You can prepare all week all you want for what you expect from a team, but until you're put in a situation or they have some type of response, if your team isn't ready to roll with the punches and handle the situation, they can only go so far.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, it lessens the burden for Nick Sirianni on game day. I don't remember, throughout the season, any bad challenge calls, red flags being thrown. If we may have had 1 or 2 clock situations where you may have had to delay a game, we usually have our timeouts available to us late in games. So these are things that as a coach, that if you get bogged down with play calling and constant adjustments when the team comes to the sideline, you can miss something out there. So, and that's the great thing about Nick Sirianni, that there is something to the effect of not having an ego, that you need to be controlling everything. And so it allows him to almost envision other things happening and being prepared for it before they actually take place. And I think it's why this offense and defense runs like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that when you have that ability to say, govern the entire operation, and you're not worried about the down-to-down play calling offensively, well, now you keep an eye on what's going on situationally in the football game, being able to coach your coaches during the course of the game, reminding of certain things you talk about during the week. An outstanding performance here from this Eagles team tonight.
All right, we're going to hear from the guy who had 17 carries and 90 yards. Miles Sanders joins us at the podium.
What's up, everybody?
Miles, you guys ran for 268 total. You kind of got it going. What do you think worked so well today?
O-line, first and foremost. I come up here and say the same stuff, but the stuff that they do throughout the week and prepare what coached out is amazing to me. I'm there with them during special team periods, with the walkthroughs and stuff like that. So I'm kind of listening to stuff that gives me extra knowledge and to figure out what they're doing and just, run the ball aligned up to what they're trying to do and make the plays happen the way they should be. And just a mentality, when we know we're going to get a chance to run the ball, the O-line and running backs, we take it upon ourselves to just make a statement. So every time.
I think 6 straight carries on one of those touchdown drives, the second or third one.
I had 6 straight carries?
6 straight runs, yeah.
I was probably tired. Yeah.
3 yards or something on those. But is that kind of a good thing to get into a rhythm like that for a running back like yourself?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And to have the durability to do that, too, endurance is the most important, because you're going to get tired regardless. If you can stay focused and, read your keys and all that to still make the play happen while you're tired. So, but, yeah, it was a great game. We had a little tempo and had their defense tired all game. So it worked for the best of us.
Jalen making a difference in the running game? Like, obviously he was more of a threat than the last time you guys played. Mm-hmm. Did that kind of help you out too?
Yeah, absolutely. He plays a part into the run game just as much as everybody else do. Between him, us, and the O-line, it was a great job all across the board.
Did you think that he was back to normal 100%? I mean, he had a 40-yard bomb on the first possession, 2 or 3 designed runs, touchdown run. It seemed like the old Jalen over the shoulder.
It seemed like the old Jalen to me. I ain't gonna lie. I'm just proud of him. He asks everybody for their best, and we're gonna do that just for him, because he gives us our best.
How much does what he does, when you talk about what he gives to you, how much does that kind of set the tone for this team?
Say that one more time.
When you talk about Jalen and what he gives in this team, how much does his demeanor, his approach set the tone for the rest of this team? He's gotten more vocal, but he's also an actions guy, like you said. Everybody knows what type of guy he is. He's in that building all throughout the day, every day. Tomorrow, I'm pretty sure he's going to be in the building all day. It's just that type of vibe that we see, and it's a lot what people don't see. So, but we see that, and that's what you want from your leader, your number one guy. So. He puts his heart out into this stuff. He eats, sleeps this stuff, and we see that, and I respect that, me personally, and I do whatever. I give arm and leg for that guy out there. So, and I know he'll do the same.
The versatility of his offense. You ran for 268 yards tonight, and then on other nights this season you passed over 300. Does this performance reflect how diverse and in the various ways that this offense can basically not beat any team throughout the league?
Absolutely. It just shows that that we can pick your poison. Honestly, starting with the quarterback to us to the tight ends and to the running backs and the O-line is just all good work all across the board, and everybody plays for each other, and that's the most important.
Besides Jalen's return to health, what was the difference between you guys tonight and in the last 3 games of the regular season when you guys seemed very disappointed in your performances?
What was the difference between
tonight and the last 3 games of the season when you guys seemed disappointed in your performances?
I'm gonna just be honest. Want to go home. I mean, it's a win and go home mentality, and everybody knows what's at stake for these type of games, and you just gotta play your best ball, and that's what we've been trying to praise and do each and every game this whole season. We still think we haven't played our best ball, but just happy to get this dub, and we're still hungry, and we're not done. So.
Do you have a preference who you play next week in the NFC Championship?
Don't matter. They gotta come here to play us. So.
Miles, I can tell you already the reaction outside the building is pretty electric after that effort. It's going to only increase this week. How do you avoid that and keep the noise out?
Like we've been doing all year. We were pretty electric all year, and fans been excited, and all the outside noise, they talk how they talk, but we worry about what's going on in our building, and we literally take it one day at a time, and that's all we can do.
What can you say about Kenny Gainwell's game?
Oh, man. I don't know if y'all seen my reaction, but I'm extremely happy for him. First 100-yard rushing game. And the playoff game is big, and I don't think he knows how big that is, but I'm going to make sure he knows. But I'm proud of him. He runs hard, catches the ball well, and he's helping us be better all around, too. So.
You and Saquon are close. Is it nice to get
that it's bragging rights in a situation like
Yes,
that?
it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'll wait until the off season and brag about that, but he ain't in a good mood right now. I ain't gonna lie.
You said you don't think you played your best game yet, but do you feel like with Jalen being back to where he was, that this offense and this team is now at the level that it was for most of the season?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've been playing at a high level all throughout the year. Even when Gardner's in there, I think we're still a dangerous team. Jalen he helps that a lot, and yes, it goes through him, and he's the captain of the ship. So, but yes, he makes stuff a lot easier. Yes, he does.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Boss.
Miles Sanders, he had 90 yards on the day, but he talked about Kenny Gainwell, over 100 yards and that touchdown. He played a heck of a game.
Yeah, Kenny G, great job. But, I thought Miles did a great job along with that offensive line setting the tone in the run game. And you could see early after that first drive, the Giants were frightened of the Eagles' passing game. They decided we can't allow them to beat us with chunk plays down the field by playing single high. I don't think Wink Martindale blitzed as much tonight as he had done in games before. And so when you use a light box to try to stop this Eagles offense, the Eagles have no problem with running the football. They're okay, we're going to keep running it down your throat. And I thought Miles set the tone early with that offensive line. And Boston ran the ball well tonight. Kenny ran the ball well tonight. And even Jalen had a few nice runs in there.
Over 6 yards a carry on the night for this Eagles offense. So over 250 yards rushing once again against this Giants defense that had trouble stopping the run all season long. So just going in and saying, hey, you know what? We're going to lean to not only one of our strengths, but what we know to be one of the weaknesses of the opponent. The Eagles took advantage of that here tonight.
Well, Eagles fans are having a lot of fun. So is our social media team here at Philadelphia Eagles. They are taking to Twitter. They are blowing things up. This is a SpongeBob tweet right here, putting up every score from all 3 times the Eagles have played the Giants. They went there.
Yeah,
they went there. And then I don't hear the sound on this one, but we got Merrill.
A lot of sounds in there.
A lot of sounds in this one. So make sure you are engaged on all our social media platforms because they are getting the job done here tonight. A lot of exciting things to talk about. Even Miles Sanders was, I don't think he's aware completely of what this is like here in Philly. This is his first playoff experience in Philadelphia, playing in Philly, and he's in for a treat.
Yeah, and next week it's going to go up even a little more next week because we know what's going to be at stake. And yeah, you can say that for the majority of these guys, with the exception of a few veterans that was here back in 2019, the last time we had a home playoff game when we lost to Seattle. But this place can be crazy. It's a wonderful crowd to play in front of. They're going to always bring that energy. And I thought tonight they did a great job of it, and the players fed off of that. I thought Dave mentioned something, Spadero mentioned something earlier that I thought was important, because I said this throughout the week. I felt that the Eagles, as the players, I don't know if they felt disrespected, but they certainly felt like they were being overlooked. This was a team through 14 weeks that was clearly the best team in football. And when their quarterback got banged up, missed a few games, all of a sudden they were the forgotten team. And everybody else became the team that's to beat. San Francisco, Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo. And I'm not surprised that they took offense with that. And so to be let out of the cages tonight, New York was in trouble from the opening kickoff. And I said this throughout the week: if New York doesn't answer or meet the Eagles' intensity early in this game, this could be a blowout. So when the Eagles scored early, New York needed to come right back and find points to put on the board, because the Eagles were going to steamroll them. You could just tell throughout the week, listening to the messages coming out of the locker room, that they were tired of talking about injuries. They were tired of talking about the Giants. They wanted to get on the field and remind everyone this is a good football team.
All right, well, Coach is at the podium. He joins us now.
Howard, what you got, baby?
I got another win to the NFC Championship game. How much did Jalen help the running game, because he could do everything?
Yeah, Jalen always is going to help the running game big time because of what he can do and the threat that he poses back on the backside. Even if he's not carrying it, right? Even if he's not having runs to him, and thanks, Bob, and everything like that, he's still going to affect the game. and that's what he did, right? He affected the game because he demands attention on the backside, and right, not that, but he runs the show out there, right? He's like a point guard, right? And so he's getting us to good checks. We have checks on. That's a good defense. They pose a lot of problems. Wink Martindale is a great coordinator. He's a great coordinator. His guys play hard for him. Brian Dable's a great head coach. His guys play hard for him, and they pose a lot of issues. And so the quarterback's got to go in there and help. With those when teams pose issues like that, and Jalen was, he was like, he's like Iverson. Was Iverson a shooting guard or a point? Who was he? Shooting. Who's our best point guard ever? I'm sorry, I don't know that. Who? It was like Mo Cheeks out there. All right. Do you like that? Do you like the Mo Cheeks comparison?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
not bad.
All right. I'm staying with Howard.
How much did Jalen changed the play at the line of scrimmage?
We have checks on things at times, and sometimes we have call it and run and play. And so I can't give you a number, Howard, but he was in complete control out there.
Nick, what was the message to the team after the game? What was the locker room like after the first playoff?
Yeah, it was lit in there, right? It was fun in there, right? You got to enjoy those moments. You got to enjoy those times, and it was fun. We had a good time in there. But the message was what the schedule was, and what it's been all year. Like, I don't care who we play, right? It's about when the motivation, and this is something that Coach Wright, Jay Wright talks to me a lot about, when the motivation's for each other, right? When the motivation's for each other, it doesn't matter who you play, right? It's about not wanting to let your teammates down, and he's so convicted when he tells me things like that. I love it, and I've adopted that message, and so that was what it was about. Like, hey, we're going to rest tomorrow. We're going to figure out who we play tomorrow. But make no mistake about it, our biggest motivation is the love that we have in this room, and not want to letting each other down. Coaches, players, coaches, players, coaches, coaches.
Nick, you talked about Jalen's effect on the running game, but that offensive line as well, especially Lane, what he was fighting through. You guys, 268, I think. So what was that offensive line, and what was Lane?
They make it go, right? They make it go. It doesn't matter what level of football you're in. It don't matter if you're in junior high, if you're in JV, if you're in varsity football, if you're in college football, Division 1, 2, 3, if you're in pro football. The O-line and the D-line, you win there, you are going to win a lot of games. And that O-line that we have, that D-line that we have, right, they're special. They got special guys on it. They got special players, and they got special men on it, right? And obviously having Lane out, Lane's the best tackle in the NFL. So to have him back and just shutting down a side, that's huge, right? And so it was awesome to have him back. He makes us go. That entire offensive line makes us go. Jason Kelce sets the table for a lot of things that is happening out there. Jason Kelce is one of the smartest football players I've ever been around. The thing that, like, we're in walkthrough yesterday, and we're lined up wrong in walkthrough, right? And he's telling the walkthrough, he's like, that's not how they line up. You move over here. You move over there. That's not the look, right? He's so smart. He's such a, to be that tough and that smart, that's an incredible thing that he has to do each week, right? To use his brain, but then have to play this crazy physical game against Dexter Lawrence is a really good player. He's a special leader. He's a special center, and then all those guys. They played their butts off today, and so yes, Jalen demands a lot of attention on the backside, but that O-line, they make the things go.
Nick, was there an emphasis to get Dallas Goedert involved early on? He had a strong start to the game. Was that
There's always an emphasis to get Dallas. There's always an emphasis to get AJ. There's always an emphasis to get Devontae. The pass game runs through those three, and sometimes it's going to play out where they're going to, one guy's going to get more touches than the other. That's just the way. This is the ebbs and flows of the year. We got selfless guys that really are excited about, the success of their teammates, and it was Dallas's turn early. He made a great play. He's tough to tackle. He is really tough to tackle. He is a big man. I wouldn't want to tackle him. That was a jersey my son wore today. I didn't bring him in here. He got to go celebrate in the locker room with us for a little bit, so he didn't get to come up to the press conference today. But he wore the Dallas Goedert jersey, and he didn't disappoint my son.
What was happening with your interaction with the referee on that almost 2-point conversion attempt?
I was going to call a timeout there. I didn't love the look, and I was trying to call a timeout, and I think he told me to get back, and I'm like, I'm going to call a timeout. I don't have the burst that I used to have when I played at Mount Union where I can sprint 30 yards down to kid a timeout. And so I needed to be down there because I didn't want to tear a hamstring off the bone.
Nick, what do you think of the defensive performance?
Whew, man, would they score 7? Yeah, big time. Jonathan Gannon puts these guys in great positions. Obviously, we have great players. And, sometimes I have to hear, like, some things about Jonathan Gannon. Like, and I don't know if it's you guys. It might be more other people. I won't say names, Angelo, right? But this guy is an unbelievable coordinator. The fact that he doesn't get respect from our radio station blows my mind. It blows my mind. And I know you work at the radio station too, so I'm not even going to say anything about you. But, like, it blows my mind. This guy is an incredible coordinator. The people love to play for this guy. Like, and listen, you want me to keep going?
I think you made your point.
Why do you even pay attention? Why do you even pay attention?
Well, Bob has to put me on to what they're, the only reason I got to pay attention is because Bob does such a good job at his job that he preps me for questions that I got to answer. And so every time I hear an answer about Jonathan Gannon, I laugh to myself. And matter of fact, coaches from other teams ask me, like, does Jonathan Gannon get shit here? I'm like, somehow, yeah. Like, this guy's incredible. He's going to be a head football coach in the National Football League because of what he does. This guy's a stud. He's a stud. I can't wait to talk to Angelo on Monday.
It's all the strategy and the stats about the game, but what emotional lift did Jalen Hurts provide to the entire team and especially at the beginning of the game, that he could do what he wanted to do on the field?
To have him out there is like, I know this is high praise, but to have him out there is like having, I shouldn't even go there, but like his having like Michael Jordan out there. Like, he's your leader. He's your leader. He's your guy. He's your, like hopefully that's the biggest respect I can pay to him, comparing to his ability to being on the field to a Michael Jordan type. Like, this guy leads. He brings this calmness to the entire team. He plays great football. He's tough as they come. Yeah, I mean, to me, there ain't nobody has played any better football than him this year.
Really amped up here. Is there a point where you have to say, okay, we still have to win the NFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl?
Heck yeah. I mean, this is what dog mentality means, Sal, is that you enjoy it for a second, but you learn from it, right? You learn from the mistakes that you make. You learn from the things that you did well, and you move in the past, right? And so that's the whole thing. Like, even when we're up 28-0, it's, hey, we're starting again. And it's like it's 0-0. So, of course, we're excited tonight, but we know we have so much bigger goals. And the only next goal is whoever we play next is wanting to win that game and then go from there. So our focus won't change. Our focus is, hey, we're climbing this mountain. We're close. We're close to the top. Don't look at the top yet, though. Look at the steps that you have to make this week. And that's been the message the entire year. Our guys, They say the same thing. Rents due today. I mean, there's different ways of saying dog mentality, but it is truly, hey, we're gonna enjoy this one. What time is it? 11:40. I'm probably going to bed when I get home, but we're gonna enjoy this. We're gonna be in the morning. I'll probably let the coaches sleep in a little bit. We'll be in the morning, and we'll correct the mistakes that we made. We'll correct those with the players on Monday, and we'll start to get ready for the next team.
Nick, this offense has been able to bludgeon teams in the running game, and you can also pass teams out of the stadium as well. Has this offense exceeded your and Shane's expectations for this year?
Still trying to just climb. All right, we're still trying to just climb. We played good football. We really have. We've played good football to this date. But we know that we can keep getting better, right? Because we're going to end up playing, practicing more. We're going to end up playing more games. And, our goal is to just get better from this. So, yeah, we like where we're at right now, right? We got a great offensive line. We got great backs. We got great receivers. We got a great quarterback. We got great tight ends. And we're just ready to go to the next challenge. So our goal is to make sure we're playing our best ball at our next game, and we look to build on this what we did today.
Overall, it's
I get everybody.
It's been a while since you've had a dominating performance like this. Why do you think that happened tonight?
Say that again.
It's been a while since you've had a dominating, convincing win like this. Why do you think that happened? Where do you think that came from tonight?
Yeah, the guys balled out. We played really good. Played a good full game by everybody. Listen, everybody wants style points in the NFL. I mean, all I'm interested is to make sure that we're getting better every day, and that it's not always it might not always look to the outside world of what's happening, right? Of the growth. I've talked about this before. It might not be always to the outside world. You're not always going to play your best game, but we know we're growing because of the way we practice, because of the way we walk through, because of the way we meet, and so we know we're growing. And listen, I'm never I'm never going to apologize for a win, right? We're gonna, if we win, and especially now, we'll correct the mistakes, we'll praise the good things, and we'll move on from there.
Last one, folks. Still a little mystery to people on the outside about how much Jalen could really do. How much would you run him? How did that factor into your game planning? Like, did you want to show early on that he could do everything so that everything opens up? Is that a factor at all?
We wouldn't have run the best things that were best for us, knowing that Jalen was no limitations. So if that was running him, that was running him. It wasn't. We don't kind of think like, hey, we're going to show you guys, right? But he was ready to go. What he did today, and we did we did the things that we thought was best to for us. And again, that doesn't mean he's always going to carry it, but because some of that is determined on the defense. But when he does carry it, he demands that respect on the backside, and nothing was off limits tonight. Who else? I want to make sure I answer everybody.
We got James
Good.
too.
Good. Yeah, you want to talk to James.
Bradberry, stand by, James Bradberry.
How sweet was it for you to pick off your former team in the playoffs?
It was a really good feeling. Probably say top 5 of my career right now.
What'd you see there? What kind of, how'd that happen?
Of course, I've been studying film and whatnot. I kind of saw that a play I recognized. I noticed it was a quick game, so I just jumped the route.
Defense as a whole, obviously very productive. Why do you think you guys played at such a high level? Just 28-0 at halftime, dominating from a statistical standpoint. What do you think went so well?
I think it starts off with the game plan. The coach put together, JG put together a good game plan for us, and we just went out there and executed. And offense played well too. Special teams played well. It takes all phases, to come together and play well for us to get a great game like that.
When you're beating a team that way, I mean, do you sense any frustration on the offensive side from them when things aren't working well for them?
I would say you kind of pay attention to the morale and the body language of the team, the whole team, when they're out there on the field. Not to say they gave up, but anytime you go up like 28 or 21-0 on a team, it's definitely going to be hard to fight out of that hole. And you kind of sense that from. And on our end, we just wanted to make sure that we came out of halftime and we started strong, so we didn't give them any kind of momentum.
What does it mean to be here, in the NFC Championship game? You've never been to this.
Never been. It's a great feeling, something new to me, and I definitely want to keep it going. Not at all. We're just gonna worry about ourselves, watch our film, correct our mistakes, and continue to, do what we do well, and be ready for whoever we get lined up against.
Nick was just here talking about JG and what a great coordinator is. You mentioned it. What do you think he does so well as a coordinator?
I think he just learns from, of course he watches the film. He does a good job of putting together a scheme to go against the opponent. And I think he did a good job of game planning them. And he knew how to prepare us. He knew what they was going to do. And that's how he called the game. And it put us in a good position to make plays out there.
JB, of course you guys will welcome Avonte back whenever he's ready. But what's worked so well with the pairing of CJ in the slot and then Reed back there, being able to trust those two in those positions?
Reed showed up, the first play he was called on, and he's been doing a good job week in and week out. Continue to learn the defense, learn how offense is trying to attack us. Of course, he's a rookie, so we're just trying to speed him up on his overall football knowledge, and he's doing a good job of taking it all in and learning.
And, of course, Chauncey, he has some previous history at playing nickel. So he was comfortable moving down there. And you got to have guys – we got guys that are flexible and they can move around and whatnot. And I think that's what kind of makes us dangerous.
I apologize, I was in the locker room, but the defense you guys put out there in that first half especially, you really didn't give them anything, and then we get them off the ground. Just the ball was going well as a defensive unit this evening. What was big for this defense today? What was the key?
I think we just started strong, and then that first drive with our offense, we saw how well they went out there and played, and we knew we had to play up to their level. So the offense started strong, so it was only right for us to go out there and play well as well. That was just kind of the mindset going onto the field. Wasn't anything special, really.
How do you go into a game like this, James? Obviously, you have a history practicing against Daniel, but he has a history practicing against you. Does that sort of weigh on you when you're sort of formulating things like jumping that route?
I wouldn't say any of my previous history with Daniel kind of affected that play. I would say, me just watching film, and me trusting, my safety, because in order for me to be aggressive, I know I need the players around me to also do their jobs as well. And, it was just a perfect play, perfect call for that situation, and they ran a play that I recognized, so it was just kind of all worked together.
You have been asked this before, but given what happened tonight, how much of a mistake was it for them to move on from you?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a mistake. Of course, I didn't like the decision or whatnot. But I don't know what all they had to process on their end. I know there was a cap issue, so I can't really say it was a mistake. They made it to the playoffs, and people didn't think they was going to make it to the playoffs. So they did a good job, the defense and whatnot, everybody stepping up and kind of making up for what I left.
How was his defense able to keep Daniel Jones from really creating the plays that he created in Minnesota of last week and all that? It seemed like y'all kept him and Saquon Barkley under control.
Yeah, we knew Daniel could make plays with his legs, and our D-line did a good job of keeping him in the pocket, when we needed to. And I'm also getting after him. And it was some times back there where we got some coverage sacks. We were tight in our coverage, tight on our man. And it allowed them to rush the quarterback and get some plays on the ball.
I was just going to say, earlier in the week, you mentioned that you lost 3 times to the Saints, I think it was, in 17. Beat the Giants 3 times. I mean, does that get rid of any bad taste in your mouth right now?
I'm just glad we beat them, and I got a pick. It doesn't really relate to the time when we lost to the Saints. So didn't really think about it too much.
Thanks, Shane.
Appreciate it.
James Bradberry calling his interception against his former New York Giants team a top 5 moment in his career so far. Hopefully there's more moments of that to come, but I actually want to go back to Nick Sirianni and what he talked about. We know the emphasis this organization puts on the work that they do in the trenches, but he said tonight, if they're going to win in the trenches, we're going to win the game. And I think you saw that. He said they make us go. When you think about over 250 yards rushing, and then on the defensive side of the ball, 5 sacks against the Giants, they won in the trenches. And as we saw, they won tonight 38-7.
Yeah, it really has been the calling card for this football team. Not just this year, but anytime we've had successful teams, it's usually because we're strong up front. The organization puts an emphasis and a premium with assets, and they allocate money to both lines of scrimmage, offensive line and defensive line. They've gone out and done that, and you can make an argument that you have the deepest and the best defensive line in all of football and the offensive line when you look at how they've played this year. So I'm not surprised when those guys get a chance from an offensive standpoint to go forward and knock guys off the ball. It's just going to continue to build that momentum. And when the offense is putting points on the board and makes the opposing team's offense one-dimensional, now our guys on the defensive side of the ball can get after the quarterback because they pretty much know what your offense is trying to do.
Complementary football. And that's the thing. When you look at the way that this team is built from that standpoint, to say, hey, you know what? We are going to build up a lead. We're going to throw the football. We're going to put points on the board. We're going to run it in the second half. And then defensively to get after teams the way that they do in terms of passing the football. 5 sacks tonight, all by the defensive line. And that's been a theme all season long. Yeah, they had 70 sacks, but they had the highest percentage of their sacks allocated to the defensive line in the entire NFL. And that's really speaking to the way that they are able to operate up 4. They attack teams in waves. That second unit comes out, that third unit comes out, and they're able to still consistently get after the quarterback.
Well, we saw a head coach at the podium just a little bit ago, but in the locker room, Nick Sirianni was having some fun. I think he was rocking C.J. Gardner-Johnson's chain around the locker room. It's a good night to be Nick Sirianni, huh?
Well, the coach certainly knows how to get in there with his players, and I think this is just one of many reasons why he's able to relate to his guys, and his guys will play hard for him. They'll back him. You also heard him talking about Jonathan Gannon. This is a close-knit group that they want to almost protect each other as a family. So seeing Nick in there with his guys after the game, not surprised there. Got the Dream Chaser chain going on, Meek Mills, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Where can I get one of those?
Might be above our pay grade. Figure that one out.
It's definitely above our pay grade.
It's above mine. I don't know about you.
Well, Nick Sirianni is also very animated on the sidelines, as we know very, very well. I think they got some good shots during the game tonight. Check it out. Whoever the Eagles play next are going to be haunted by some of these images, just waiting for next Sunday.
And this is the thing about him as a coach, that he wears his emotions on his sleeves, right? And I think if I was a player playing for him, you know, that's somebody I want to go out there and play hard for. You want to be successful because he genuinely is out there rooting for your success as a player. And when he feels like there's been some injustice done to one of his players, he's going to go to bat for you. He's going to fight for you. He's going to speak up for you. That's what you want.
And that's the thing, is that it's authentic. It's
Yeah,
not, that is not
exactly.
contrived energy
Yes.
whatsoever. And so that absolutely comes through. And the players feel that. The assistant coaches feel that. Everybody in the building, all the fans in the building feel that as well. That authentic energy and the passion for this team and its success shows through every single game day.
I will say, too, a lot of the conversations last year were about how he prioritizes connection to his players, and all that sounded great. But you have to remember, last year we were still in the COVID years of we didn't have access to a locker room. We were so much further from players and coaches. So now being back in the locker room this year and really being up close and kind of in the weeds of the inner workings of what goes on day to day here at the NovaCare Complex, you see that it's true, that it works, that his connection isn't fake. Like you said, it is very authentic. And when you think about the season the Eagles have had on the football field, that starts from those personal connections he develops here in the NovaCare Complex.
I completely agree. And you talk about the how authentic it is. That's important for players because they recognize that. They've heard enough coach speak. They've been in these meetings. They know if it's not genuine.
Right.
And they know if you're just putting on a show. And Nick has been true to himself from the time he's gotten his job to where he's at right now. The good times, the tough times, he's remained the same. When he needs to make any type of adjustment where he feels like he needs to push certain buttons to get the most out of his players, he doesn't have any problem with doing that, and his players respond to it.
And by the way, that goes back to what we talked about earlier in the show where, you know, when you're not as involved with having to do the play calling on Sundays, well, now the time that you spend in the offensive meeting room, if you do need to go and have a one-on-one with a player, or you do need to meet with your leadership counselor or your select group of leaders on the team, you've got that freedom to be able to do that, and that's something we see with Nick Sirianni.
And looking to next week, I think the Eagles have a bit of an advantage in terms of they get to sit at home tomorrow and watch the two teams, one of which they will be playing, duke it out tomorrow for a spot to come to Philly. So that kind of is nice from a game planning standpoint. Nick said that the coaches will be back in here tomorrow correcting mistakes and then, of course, watching the game tomorrow. But you can kind of look at both teams and figure out where you match up before you begin really honing in on the one team that will be coming here next Sunday.
Obviously, Dallas is a divisional opponent, so we know them very well.
Familiar.
You played them twice already. And thankfully, we had a chance to play San Francisco last year. So a lot of what they're doing is still pretty much the same. Of course, some of the personnel is different. They didn't have Christian McCaffrey last year. But you know the philosophy of Kyle Shanahan and what DeMeco Ryans want to do on both sides of the football. And Ella, to your point about the benefit of being able to watch those teams play tomorrow, it's just another added bonus and a reward for the hard work this team put through the regular season to get the #1 seed, right? So they get to play on a Saturday. And then they get an extra day to prepare for the conference championship game. To the victors go the spoils. The Eagles have earned that right and that benefit, and so hopefully next week they can take advantage of it.
And it's funny, Nick Sirianni was asked about that in the post-game press conference. Oh, it's been a while since you had a dominant win, and he kind of like laughed and chuckled at it at first because he was like, I'm never going to apologize for getting a win. And what do we say this on the post-game show all the time after those quote-unquote ugly wins in October and early November and September. None of those, an ugly win does not exist in the NFL. All that matters is you get that W at the end of the night, and then you stack those together, and that's how you get the number 1 seed, and now you sit at home on Sunday waiting to see who you're going to host next week for the title game.
And you get to stay at home. You don't have to travel to play in that NFC Championship game, so you get to stay in this building, get your players healthy with their personnel under this roof. All signs pointing in the right direction for the Eagles. But I kind of want to ask you a question, Ike. When you go into this coming week with the mindset of we are 1 game away from the Super Bowl, I mean, how do you manage that mindset, the emotions? Because you want to be in the mindset of it's 1 game, it's a must-win game. But how do you block out kind of the magnitude of this type of game?
Well, it won't be easy, especially for younger players. Some of the veterans that have sort of gone through this, they'll certainly know how to stick to their routine, and hopefully they'll be able to relay that to some of the younger guys. We talked about this on the pregame show. You don't want to make the game bigger than what it is, but it is a big game, right? It's not a regular season game. This isn't a preseason game.
All right, we're going to actually head over to Lincoln Financial Field. Jalen Hurts is at the podium.
How essential was it for this team to be able to set the tone when you guys did that first half?
Sorry?
How essential was it for this team the way you set the tone the way you guys did in that first half?
I think it was very important for us to come out and start fast, and I think as a football team, we just came out, we played a lot of energy. We prepared really well throughout the week, and you always talk about, challenging everybody to play their best ball, right? Because I truly never put a limit on myself, and I never put a limit on what this team can do, so there's always more out there for us to get, and to come out there and play the way we did tonight. I'm proud of this group. I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of the preparation that we put in to get to where we are. So a lot to be grateful for, but it was earned during the week. So, excited to have another opportunity to play for something big again.
Jalen, how much more coming into this game and completing it?
Good enough. Good enough.
Jalen, you guys, a little bit of a strange question, but you guys have won so many coin tosses. You generally don't get the ball at the start of the game. Today, you guys were able to do it and start so quickly. Does that allow you guys to get into that tempo a little bit easier?
Yeah, I think regardless of the circumstance, you just want to go out there and execute. And I think that's what we did a really good job of. That was a really good team, really well coached, and we saw the game that they played against us 2 weeks ago with their starters not even playing. So it's a really well coached team. They have really good players. I think we did a really good job of executing, and we put a good one together. That's on all phases, all 3 phases. So it's always great to start fast, but it was good. It was a good win.
Did you think that your ability to hit that first long pass to DiGiovanni, just to say, hey, I can do this, we can make this happen?
It wasn't. It was just going throughout the game. There really wasn't any extra, fuel to anything in terms of that. I feel like we know who we are. We know who we are, and we just want to go out there and play our best ball. We want to execute and do our jobs. That's our single motivation, and ultimately playing for the man next to us. So, like I said, it's always good to kind of get that thing going early, but I think executing is the most important thing out of all of it. And whether it's a 5-yard route or a deep shot, kind of sealing the block and capturing the edge, reaching the guy on the edge, we want to do our jobs.
From a physical standpoint, Jalen, what was easier for you tonight compared to 2 weeks ago?
I don't know. I think just the mental approach of getting it done, and we got it done.
Seeing Lane play through his injury, how much did that mean to you personally?
Yeah, he's a warrior. He's a true warrior. He's a very important piece to this team, and he's been doing great things for a very long time, and I'm very grateful to have him. We're grateful to have him, and I'm happy he's kind of coming out of this thing clean.
What kind of impact did you think that the fact that you were able to run on design runs had on the effectiveness of the offense?
I mean, we all know that adds a extra dynamic to what we can do. So I think that kind of answers itself.
Jalen, Dallas said that you set the tone for the team by when you talk to them and talk about how hungry you are for this. Where did that come from?
You work really hard for these opportunities. They come a dime a dozen sometimes. You work really hard for them, though. I'm just very eager to continue to grow. Eager to go through anything and everything with this group. It's a special thing. It's a special feeling. It's a special type of togetherness that we have, and it's something that I don't think I've experienced quite like this, for sure on the NFL level. So we just want to continue to grow together, hold each other accountable, and believe in one another. I think we just came out here hungry, and that's what it was.
How much do you think last year's game in Tampa in the playoffs helped you in this game?
I think every experience is helpful. I think not only that game, but entire last season, the past 15 games I played, 15. I think all of those have been very beneficial, and a lot to learn from that. I want to come out here and just kind of play clean football and kind of knowing what that looks like, finding a way to do that. It's been good.
Experiencing this atmosphere in Philly, what was it like on the field?
I go back to the Monday Night Football game we had versus Minnesota, and that was an electric environment. And I think the one tonight, man, it was beautiful. I always kind of measure it by how many fans are there for pregame warm-ups, and I think it was pretty thick. So it's exciting. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know they would take it's a Philly thing and run with it, but it's truly a Philly thing here. It's truly a Philly thing, and the special type of support we have, the spirit and pride behind what we're doing. We just want to continue to do good things for the city.
Can you even imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like next week, an NFC title game 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I can't. I can't. I can't. I really can't.
Jalen, you guys ran for 268 today. You've had games where you've thrown it for well over 300. It seems like Shane just focuses in on what the defense is allowing, and he sort of hammers it. Do you get that sort of approach, or do you come into this game?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is what's been good for us is we've been able to be effective in every possible way, and that's the most. That's all you can ask for as an offense. Being able to efficiently run the ball, throw the ball efficiently, and quarterback can do it as well. That's a good thing to have, and I think it's a special thing when we're able to do all of that. I think it's kind of like pick your poison. So, when we're executing and we have the right attention to detail and everything that we're doing, we definitely want to pose a threat on all these different areas for a defense, and that's something we work at every day.
Jalen, when you were saying earlier that you're running ads at dynamic to the offense, obviously, did you kind of have to take a hit on it today to kind of know that would happen, that you'd be okay to
mentally, regardless of how I was feeling physically and how I feel physically, mentally, I was already there. So there was nothing that needed to be done for me to get there.
In terms of what type of tone setter was Dallas Goedert? Not only his opening touchdown, but a few plays before that, the stiff arm. It kind of felt like it was heard across the stadium.
Yeah, no. I think Dallas has been able to do great things this whole entire time. I think the physicality he plays with, how he came out there, and I mean he does that all the time. I mean he's trying to punish. He's trying to punish somebody. He's not trying to spare no man. He's trying to apply pressure to him. So definitely creates a lot of energy and enthusiasm. And then to make the one-headed catch with the left hand, the non-dominant hand, that's pretty impressive. Considering the ball was probably already in the air. So he's a big-time player. We need our big-time players to make big-time plays as we go down this stretch. I think, yeah.
I'm sorry. In terms of the starving for this mentality that you've talked about, that you've passed on to your teammates, how much does that grow now that you're on to the next step?
Yeah, I think it's an eagerness. It's an eagerness to accomplish what we want to accomplish, and that's a day-by-day thing. Every team comes into this thing searching for trying to accomplish the same thing. Now, once you climb that mountain, it gets harder. It gets more treacherous as you get to the top. But we take it day by day. We just take it one step at a time, one play at a time, trusting the process of getting better every day, and we let that handle itself. I think I love the fact that that's the mentality of this team. I love the fact that we're starving, that we're not just hungry for it, but we're starving for it. We're starving for growth. We're eager for growth and getting better and learning from our mistakes. I think that's the beautiful thing about it, and we just want to continue to do that, And I think, I think there was a little motivation as a team, just on wanting to come out here and play our best ball, And I think sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Joe.
You heard it from QB1. This team is starving. When you think about Jalen Hurts' journey to this point, he's now preparing to play in the NFC Championship game as a leader of this team. How has his mentality, his work ethic, his leadership really kind of changed the culture of this locker room in terms of putting them in the position to have this type of attitude where it's a week in and week out thing, we just want to grow? You would never think that they're in the position they are in the playoffs right now just by the way that he was talking so even-keeled, Ike.
Well, I think the way that he's arrived at this point in his life and as an athlete allows people to view him from a standpoint of admiration. He doesn't put himself above the team. I think that permeates throughout the locker room because the quarterback sort of sets the tone for what the culture is going to be like. And I think Jalen, being a second-round draft pick, not necessarily being brought in to be the guy, he's had to work and earn his spot there. And so he has, I believe, fans and his teammates that want to see him do well. And so I think they are more than – and he's consistent. He's consistent with his leadership. Leads by example first and foremost, and then when he needs to speak, he speaks with authority, and they listen. And so I think those things are important because at this level, you want to get these grown men to follow you, and these are some guys that are 5 years older than he is. You had better be doing it yourself first and foremost. And I think that's the thing that Jalen has done from the time that he's gotten here. He handled his rookie year with class and with grace and still went out there and did his job. The second year did the same thing when things weren't going well. And then more importantly, he takes the offseason to work on his game, work on his craft, and he comes back a better player. So it's not just all about talk. But the thing that's most important is he's consistent. He's consistent. He doesn't go high, low. He's just steady as you go. And I think players, we're always looking for our leader to lead us the right way. And I think it's easy to follow someone like Jalen because he is so consistent.
It's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine, a fan of the team, who said, I love everything about Jalen Hurts, and whenever he takes the field, I always feel like they're in a chance to win the game, and I'm constantly rooting for them to win the game, like more so than normal, just because I feel so attached to Jalen Hurts. This is someone who's basically a casual fan, will watch some of the content and watches every game, but wouldn't describe themselves as a diehard fan. And my response to him was, Yeah, now imagine if you're someone who's in that locker room with him every single day and around him every single day, the players, the coaches, the support staff, everybody that's around him, that magnetism that you're attracted to, they have it tenfold. And I think that that's one of the things that makes Jalen.
Well, Jalen was asked about the tone-setting performance from Dallas Goedert in that opening drive. So earlier this evening, Fran Duffy broke down that scoring drive by Dallas Goedert.
All right, so for this week's Ricoh review, I want to rewind all the way back to the very first drive. The Eagles march down the field methodically, and they get inside the 20-yard line. This is the touchdown from Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert to kick this game off, and it comes on 3rd down in the red zone, the epitome of situational football. And when you have situational football, a lot of times it comes down to players, not plays. You want to find ways to get your playmakers the football, and this play is designed to go to Dallas Goedert all the way. We mentioned it's 3rd down, it's 3rd and 5. The Eagles are inside the 20-yard line, and look at how they line up. It is an empty set. Now, the Eagles, when Jalen Hurts was in at quarterback, they led the NFL by over a yard per play out of empty sets, just about 9 yards per play. Just an outstanding way for them to pick up chunk yards both through the air and on the ground. So the Giants, they've got to be ready for anything here. Hurts can keep this ball on a QB draw. We saw that a little bit later in the day, but then also he's got the ability to get the ball to a number of pass catchers. But when you look at how the Eagles disperse their wideouts here, you've got DeVonta Smith and A.J. Brown to the left. You've got Kenny Gainwell to the right. And what you see is that they match this with a safety. The Eagles had an idea that, hey, when we go empty on 3rd down, they're going to react with man-to-man coverage. So on the right side, the Eagles have a man-beating concept where, again, it's essentially a pick play, a little rub route here for Dallas Goedert. He's just going to work to the right, to the outside of the formation, and Zach Pascal is just going to set a little bit of interference here. We can let this roll. Jalen Hurts is going to take the snap, and he does an outstanding job, Zach Pascal, of doing just enough where this defender is going to have to work through him over the top, and that's going to free Dallas Goedert open to get to the pylon for a 1st down. Now, Pascal does such an outstanding job here. We can let this roll. Not only doesn't make contact with the defender, but he makes the defender work so hard to keep up with Goedert that he trips. Goedert is now wide open. He makes a one-handed catch on the move, spins through another tackle, and he marches into the end zone. The Eagles reach the end zone here on the opening drive. They go up 7-0, an outstanding first half. They were perfect in the red zone. They were near perfect on 3rd down, and it all starts with finding key ways to get your playmakers the ball in space. This one, well executed, well designed for a touchdown.
We've been talking about it all night. Next Sunday at the Link, the Eagles will be facing the 49ers or the Cowboys. We know kickoff's at 3 o'clock. Of course, you don't know the opponent yet, as they will play, I guess, later today, you could say, since we are into the hours of Sunday morning here. But it's going to be a good game no matter who comes to town next week, guys.
Yeah, it will be. You know, 2 worthy opponents, 2 tough opponents, different styles of how they want to try to beat you. Dallas, obviously, we see him twice a year, Dak Prescott, and what he's able to do when he's healthy out there. And then you got the rookie, Brock Purdy, who's taken the NFL by storm over the last couple of months. Kyle Shanahan is a great play designer. They've been putting Purdy in good situations to where he doesn't have to do a whole lot, but he's making the throws when he needs to make the throw. It's going to be a tough game tomorrow. I would not be surprised if Dallas wins the game later today, nor would I be surprised if the 49ers win. I think it's going to be a very tight game, probably a field goal game.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth in this game all week to see who I think is actually going to end up winning it. I think San Francisco's offense is going to give that Dallas defense fits, but we know that Dallas offense can put up points as well. So I'm interested to see who comes out of it, who ends up coming here to Lincoln Financial Field next week. But as Ike mentioned, 2 worthy opponents that can wreck a game on both sides of the football. It'll be a fun matchup next week.
Well, if you are coming to Lincoln Financial Field, Brandon Graham has a message for you, Eagles fans.
It was roaring today. And so, like I said, just keep the energy coming. We feel that. We thrive off that. And I just feel like, you know, we ain't the 12th man, but, you know, it's definitely loud for sure. And you can tell we in playoff football, playoff mode.
You heard the bet, you better bring it. We'll have you covered on the kickoff show starting at 2:10 p.m. before that 3 o'clock kick. The Eagles are headed to the NFC Championship, Eagles fans, and we will have you covered the whole way through. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. We'll see you next week, and go Birds.